For thousands of years, humans looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. But for former NASA astronaut Sunita "Sunny" Williams, it was looking down at Earth that changed everything. I'm Monica Cull, and in this video, I interview Sunita Williams, a retired NASA astronaut, flight engineer, and commander who's completed several space missions, about her time at the International Space Station, where she experienced the overview effect. The realization that every person, animal, and living thing exists on one small, fragile planet floating in space. Williams talked to me about her experience on the ISS, how seeing Earth from above changes our perspective on where we are in the universe, how international collaboration can lead to amazing things, and why going to space is so important to our understanding of the cosmos. So to jump in, one of the things I wanted to talk about today was the overview effect. Are you aware of the overview effect?
Yeah, it's funny. It took a while before I heard that. I think it wasn't until my second flight. That was over a decade ago, 2012. I think it was the first time I heard that. But I think everybody, how could you not have this overview effect, right? I don't know if I'm going to say the right definition exactly, but even on my very first flight, the first time, and we were super busy on the shuttle flight, but had a moment. I was on the mid-deck to fly up to the flight deck and look out the window, and it just, on a funny sense, I tell everybody, like, yes, the Earth is round, by the way. It just
Yeah.
you get that impression, but then you also, like, you can't help but just go like, wow, that's it. That's it. That's where everybody I know, that's where every plant, that's where every animal I know, everything that I know is right there. And it's such a dramatic view of that, even like that, like I said, the first moment that I saw it. And then I think that feeling just grows as I've been so super fortunate to do long duration missions. And, of course, you look for your home. The first time you're looking out the window, you're like, where is everybody? Like, okay. And it's easy for me. I live on the East Coast, so I could find the coast. But later on, you sort of start looking at the planet as a planet. And I think that's, for me, more of the overview effect of like, where's our place in this solar system? Not just like where my home is, where my house and my yard and my dogs are, but like, where is this planet in the solar system, and how lucky we are that our planet has water on it, it has an atmosphere, and you can see all of that interaction. And to me, the planet was alive, like it's not just a
Mhm.
big rock, it's actually moving and living. And it's not talking now about the people or the plants or the animals. It's just like itself is like just a planet that's alive in the middle of this solar system. And I think for me, you can snap out of it when you're doing your work, because you're there at a rack and your hands are in it. But as soon as you fly by the window, it's like, whoa,
Mhm.
every single time, even though being up there for, hundreds of days, every single time you look out the window, it's amazing. Daytime, nighttime, it's incredible.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know if I could handle flying to space, but being able to see Earth from above would be absolutely incredible. Was there like a particular moment or location on Earth that really stood out to you, like that was especially beautiful or especially meaningful?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of so many right away because different little instances just keep popping up in my head. But one in particular is the Caribbean, just because the colors of the water is just incredible. And you could be having, a terrible day for whatever reason, and you fly over those colors, and it feels like you could see right into the ocean, and it's like the color change because of the depth. And you can see, like, I think it's called the Great Exuma, right? Where there's this hole of dark blue and then those ridges around it, created by the sand and the coral. And you think, is it going to blow away, But it doesn't. And it's so beautiful every single time. That mixture with the clouds is just incredible. I don't know. It's awesome.
So I've heard that from the ISS that you can sometimes see like the dust that gets kicked up from the Sahara as it blows across. Were you ever able to see that?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know what that was. Lived in Texas for a long time, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's hazy because of the dust and Sarah. Like, what are you talking about? But yes, after you go to space, you can see when that happens, if that phenomena is happening. I remember not necessarily in the Sahara, but in the Middle East at one point in time, and this was just by chance because I was just thinking about how could you predict this. I saw like this dust storm, like huge rolling dust cloud, which was just incredible. So there's so much that you can see. Of course, it's pretty obvious. Well, we can see hurricanes, like everybody sees that on the news with the satellite pictures. We can see all of that. But like when you can see things like dust storms, and I think some folks have been super fortunate to fly nearby when volcanoes have erupted. Those pictures are out there. Like you could see this huge gray plume. Mike Barrett, I can't remember what expedition he was on, but he took one of those pictures. That's just incredible. So yeah, you could see these phenomena on our planet. Another time, let me just, I know you're talking about dust, but I have to tell you another thing. It was just awesome. On my first flight, they were like, take a picture of this iceberg. I was like, what are you talking about? There's no way I could take a picture of an iceberg. It's like there's so many clouds. How do you tell the difference between a cloud and an iceberg? You can. No, no sweat. It's so easy. Icebergs have a little blue tinge to them. And so we were tracking a big piece that came off of Antarctica. I think it was like 30 kilometers wide, like a diamond shape. But we could find it on repeat orbits because it left a trail of little icebergs behind it. And it was like the breadcrumbs. And we were like, okay, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up. So it was pretty incredible that you can see all this distinction. Just speaking of frozen ice flows in the northern Atlantic that like make some swirls. Just amazing stuff like that. Like, yeah, stuff you get a totally different perspective from space.
Yeah, things you would never like even think of to like
Yeah.
imagine that could be possible. That's incredible. And like that has to be such a gigantic piece of ice if you're able to see the smaller chunks that it's leaving
Yeah.
behind too. That's crazy.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so how did seeing Earth from space change your perspective on life back on the ground?
Yeah, it's funny. It wears off, which is a little unfortunate, and I have to go back to like some of my videos and my pictures to just get that like instant reminder because I'll go right back to being in space. But like when you're up there, I see, like I like to travel, so I'm like, oh my God, I want to go see that. I want to go see that. Go to see it. So it gives you that like perspective, like how many things on our planet when we're stuck in our own little cities, we don't get out and see all the rest of what's going on and so much more that we can see. Another huge impression is how much water there is. Like
Mm,
at any given time, you go to the window and you're like, okay, what ocean am I over right now? Because there's so much ocean, and that really leaves an impression on you about like when you'll see like algae blooms in the middle of the ocean somewhere, all of a sudden the colors will change. They're like, oh, what is happening there, and how are we affecting our planet? There's so much water, and how we should take care of our planet, and obviously the ocean is a huge part of that. And then that interaction with the atmosphere, and like think you probably have heard this too, like when you look at the planet and look at where we are, which is only 250 miles, 400 kilometers above the planet. It's like so small, like it's such a small distance vertically, and within all of that is that protection of our atmosphere that's keeping all of us alive. And it really, so you get that real sense of the fragility of our planet when you're looking at it on that edge view and you can see how thin our atmosphere is.
that's actually I've never considered it like that before.
The sky looks so big, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
there. But it's like in perspective, it's so small. And
Yeah.
then what makes you think about like our atmosphere and how we could wreck it and how that has that interference with the ocean and all of that, how we should be taking care of it.
Mhm. And it's also interesting, I guess we've also at Discover been talking about for this piece in particular how like human beings were able to create technology to sail across the oceans and then the next step was to go into space. So it's kind of incredible to like see that much water and how much we've been able to traverse across our planet to eventually be able to leave it and look down on it.
Oh
Um
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's I think of those explorers, like I know we're all taking little steps as exploration, but I don't put myself in that category of getting on a boat and saying goodbye to my family for I don't know where I'm going when I'm coming back, like that
Mhm.
was that took a lot of guts for those people in the beginning, and obviously motivation for, materials things as well, but just a lot of guts to be able to take that big trip.
Yeah, I don't know if I love to travel too, but I don't know if I have the guts to not know what's beyond the next horizon, you know? So for my next question, can you describe a moment in space that felt truly surreal or unforgettable, beyond the view of Earth?
I've said this a number of times, so if you've heard this before and I sound redundant, I apologize. But like, I can't not talk about my very first spacewalk. My very first
Mhm.
spacewalk, we had some extra things to do, and so because we got ahead a little bit, so they said climb up to the top of the space station. And at that time, there was a solar array that was vertically sticking off the top, and then it was out like this. And one of the solar arrays was having a difficulty being retracted because we were going to move it. And so, okay, climb up. And two impressions from that one, like half an hour of my life. I'm climbing. The gentleman I was with, Bob Kirby, goes, "You go first." So I'm like, okay. So I start going, and I had that. Uh, I didn't even. It was not even conscious at all. My heart just started beating like crazy, like, "Doo-doo, doo-doo," because I felt like I was climbing on the edge of a skyscraper. I was like,
Okay.
Sonny, you can fall off. It's okay. So I had to like turn myself sideways, and then instead of translate like this, translate sideways. And you
Okay.
can make that mental shift in your head, and then all of a sudden I was fine. So that was so weird. I was like, wow, it really reminds you, yes, you're in space, you're not going to fall off or anything. But it culminated in, like, I was 40 at the time, 40 years of being nervous about falling off a building, right? So
Right.
how do you erase that in 10 seconds, right? So anyway, that was amazing. And then when I was up on the top, both of us were on either side of the truss, near the solar panels, and we were having a little bit of a difficulty with retracting them. So they said, just hang on for the nighttime because we need to be able to use the cameras and see what you're doing. And so we were just there for 40 minutes or so of nighttime, and we just happened to pass over Aurora. And for the very first time from space, for me to see Aurora underneath me while I was in a spacesuit was like overwhelming. I was like, holding on, just going, oh my God, like, what is that? And it's like that, we'd all seen it now because we've taken some amazing time lapse pictures from the space station. But to see that underneath you, like this energy from, the universe, solar wind essentially coming across and creating this, electric, field on our planet, on our poles, and it underneath you, like, holy moly. So
Yeah.
it really puts you in your place, and you are, reminded how small, our planet is. It's just one piece in this big structure of our solar system and our universe. And like, there's a lot of energy out there, and we have no idea how to even capture that, really, So it really put me in my place, not to mention it was just incredibly beautiful to see it from there.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I can't imagine. I love getting any chance to capture the northern lights. I'm in, like, southeastern Wisconsin, so occasionally we'll get, like, a really small, like, a little bit of it, but I wanna get up, like, further north and actually see it, like.
Well, these last 2 summers, you probably saw it, last
Mhm.
24 and 25, and I think that was, like, one of the blessings to be up there just because I think it's called solar min, actually, but anyway, I don't know, all the terms, but, we got to see so much auroras, and it came down so low on our, in the latitudes that the space station flew right through it. So
Wow.
unbelievable. Yeah, like, it's purples and reds as well as green, like, wow. Yeah.
That's ugh, that's amazing. Do you what does it feel like to be in space? Like, to do a spacewalk? How does it feel? Like, is there, like, a specific feeling to it?
A little prescribed or mechanical because we practice all this stuff, and so in your head, you've, run through it a number of times, and that it goes for science experiments too, like, you're, like, there doing something, but every now and then you just gotta pinch yourself, like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. But we've practiced so much, like getting the suit on and making sure that, there's like 100 steps in that procedure, making sure that's all done correctly. Because you're like locking your friends up in a little spacecraft and sending them out into space. And so everybody's super focused. I think pretty pumped about it too. We finally have a moment to relax when we're trying to do our in-suit pre-brief protocol to get rid of all the nitrogen. So you do the full in-suit exercise. So you have a moment after that when the suit's all buttoned up and you're fine and you're just doing your exercise and you're like just sort of a little bit meditating on how you're going to go out and do your task.
Right.
So that's, I think, for me, like one of those first times, like, oh yeah, I'm in the suit, it feels good. All right, I'm ready to go. And then when you get in the airlock and we start to depress the airlock to get ready to go out and opening that hatch and seeing the Earth, like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That that's a little bit scary. But at the same time, you're ready, you're prepared. We've done this before. On my first spacewalk, it was nighttime when I went outside, so I really didn't see the Earth at first. I had my headlamp on and I'm translating to where I was going to go work. I got there, I put an extra tether down. Yep, I see I'm double tether. Okay, I'm good. Take my hands off, start working, and then the sun comes up and you see the Earth, right below you. And that's it. Like it's right in the only thing between you and, you know, the vacuum of space is your helmet, visor. It's protective cover too, but it's visor and you're like, oh, that's it. Like here we are.
Yeah.
Like it's surreal. It's awesome. It's spacewalks are, I think, every single human emotion you can have. You're really basically you're hot, you're cold, depending on if the sun is up, you're thirsty, you're hungry, you have to go to the bathroom, you're a champion because you did something that you thought was gonna be super hard, and then you're a failure because something easy didn't work out quite right. Who knows, because it was thermal or we just didn't know how something was going to act. And they're always a surprise. Something's always going to go a little bit wrong, and you got to sort of think on your feet as well as work with the ground to come up with solutions. So you come in after 6.5 hours or so, just like a day of skiing. That's how I think about it. And just sort of like, whew. You want to have that sit down, but you can't sit down.
Right. Yeah. Can't have your hot chocolate or anything after it either.
Exactly.
Hmm. That's incredible too. Yeah, I love hearing stories about spacewalks. It's so amazing that humans have been able to create like the ability to do it. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep. And you don't recognize how big the space station is. I think when you're out there, you're sort of, clamoring around. And on this second to last spacewalk, Nick took a picture of me. I was all the way on the front of the space station working right close to our Dragon spacecraft, and he was over on the truss. And
Mhm.
I was super concentrated, so I wish I had taken a picture of him, but he took a picture of me, and I looked so small. I was like, "Oh my God, this is pretty big space station that we're crawling around on." I
Yeah.
look so teeny out there. But again, so many things put you in your place, I think, when you're in space.
What is something you want people on Earth to take away from your experience in space? And then what is something you hope readers can take away from this story?
My biggest impression is people always ask, like, is it worth it? Why are we doing this? Like it's not, and I feel like people think it's for the couple people who get the opportunity to go to space, and it's not that. That's just part of it. I feel like hopefully people see us as stewards of humanity going out and trying to figure out taking those next steps. But behind that is like thousands of people all over the world who are working on space exploration in one form or fashion. Maybe it's the guy who's making the food or the clothes, or doing the budget. But it's like so many people in so many aspects of just life on Earth are having to figure out how to put somebody in space. And when you have to figure out how to put somebody in space, you have to think outside the box. We could be lazy and be here on Earth all the time and just do things with gravity, but when you have to figure out a problem with microgravity or changing gravity, going back to the moon, for example, or going longer, very far away from Earth, out to, to Mars. When you start thinking about those problems and how to solve them, um, you have to think outside the box. You have to think differently. You might not even know all the questions to ask. And so you have to start chipping away at the problem just step by step by step with little questions and little answers to enlighten you to the next questions to even ask. So I think there's so much to the words think outside the box because you have to solve problems that way. And that's how it allows us to take steps in exploration. And I think as a result of all of that, also, we become, of course, the smarter, more enlightened, more knowledgeable, and we can bring all of that stuff back to people on Earth and making life better on Earth. Everybody will always talk about money. We'll never have enough money for anything. I've come to that conclusion in my life, being in the military or doing, being at NASA or you're working with a commercial company. Nobody ever has money, and it's okay because you solve that problem by just being innovative. And that's what space exploration does.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to like mention about your time in space that you think readers would love to hear?
People have asked me, do you wish you were going to the moon? And of
Mm.
course. But
Yeah.
I feel like we've every part of the space program has laid the foundation for the next steps to be taken. And so building the space station was my generation, and now we've opened the door for a moon station, and I can't wait for that to.
Yeah, that is very exciting. We've kind of been waiting like anxiously like for all the new announcements about the like next Artemis mission and everything. And I spoke to someone at Goddard who is working on the Roman project and everything that's gonna come out of that. Like they were saying that by 2040, like we'll have so much more knowledge of space, and it's like it it seems like that's far away, but that's really not too far away
It's
from here.
It's not far at all. What, and it's, I think another interesting aspect, like the space station, to me, and I hope other people opened eyes about the international cooperation, where we can work together, we can do amazing things. It's not easy, but we could do that. And also, I thought, in particular with all these international partners, there's no way this would have happened. Like somebody would have said, "No, I'm too tired for this. I can't. I don't have money. I did it." But we actually did it, and that reminded me that these things are hard, but we can do them. Well, like when we hear these sort of fantasy ideas of how we're gonna have tankers or land on the moon, and the chopsticks, for Starship, for example, this craziness. It's not really craziness. That what our destiny is determined by our imagination, and your imagination can do anything, and that means that we can get there engineering wise. It's just it just takes a little hard work.
Yeah, and some cooperation and
Oh,
collaboration.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you once again so much for speaking to me. This has been like so inspirational, like a bucket list item. Like this is incredible. I feel like I've learned so much.
These are good. These are great questions. So thank you so much. I was just thinking to myself, it would be fun to do your questions are great for like a fireside chat presentation. So thank you for asking and putting it together.